Just when you thought Christmas was over, Bring Me the Horizon. Well, they've released something. Well, Bring Me the Horizon have released an EP, as they're calling it, even though it's their longest thing they've ever put out, and by conventional definitions it's not actually an EP. But this is what has been referred to as the Music to Go To EP, and that's what I'm going to be calling it because the full name, which I'll show you up here, is a bit of a mouthful to say the least. And that's probably the least confusing thing going on here. Like, this is the definition of experimental and alternative music. This makes Ammo look like a straightforward metalcore album. They've really trolled reviewers like me. Like, I just don't know what words even describe the most of the music on this album, but I'm going to try my best, I promise. And if that was their purpose, they have succeeded. I have a bit of a look around before uploading this, and there's no reviews from any of the big companies like Kerrang, Loudwire, Billboard or any of the others, and there's not very many other YouTube reviews on it. In fact, I was going to release this video on the night of the album being released after I'd listened through it all twice. But even after 2 times of listening through it, I was just confused. There are lots of different words you could use to describe this EP, and I've seen a lot of very varying opinions and words being used on Twitter about it, but I think one thing that no one can deny, this music is interesting to say that. You may notice the Bring Me the Horizon poster in the background, but I'm going to try and do this as unbiased as possible. And ultimately, I don't think it fucking matters if I like Sepraternal, because what the fuck is this compared to Sepraternal? So yeah, as we heard from Bring Me the Horizon a few weeks or months ago at this point, when they released their song Ludens, they're no longer going to be doing full albums. They're going to be doing shorter EPs is what they said, but doesn't seem to be the case. So they can experiment a lot more and they can do a lot of things that won't define the band like their albums have done. So they can just try new things. And I think this is the antithesis of doing that. And I think they really showed that by releasing this as an EP with no build-up, with no hype, and didn't even tweet about it or anything for a few hours after it was released. So this was more of a B-size album or side project rather than a typical Bring Me the Horizon album. So in theory, I think that's a great idea because it allows them to do something like this that is extremely experimental and different from what they normally would do, which would be very controversial if this was a big full-length album which they'd been hyping up and was the only Bring Me the Horizon stuff we were going to get for about 3 years. So this is something very different. I've seen a lot of people seem to think that this is something different for the sake of being different. And I'm not personally sure if I fully agree with that because we've seen a lot of stuff from Ollie Sykes online in the past year or so that he is a very alternative personality. Everything from like how he dresses, how he eats, even being vegan, and a lot of their promotional material and edited videos of the band show me that it does seem to be a lot more naturally super alternative rather than they're putting on a big show to try and look all edgy. So overall, I like to talk about the albums in full at the beginning, but that's so hard with this album that I'm only going to be able to do a bit of a brief summary, then we're going to go through each song in turn and do a bit of a quick chat about them. Overall, I think there's a lot of very good and interesting ideas that have gone into this album, but I think it could have done a bit more fine-tuning. So let's go on to the songs. First song we have on the album is Steal Something, and this is really where the confusion begins. You have sort of lo-fi house beats, but then with a bit of a Latin rock guitar sound in there. There's very little vocals in this song, and the ones we do get are quite distorted. Then you do get quite a heavy emphasis on the Steal Something line, which I was hoping that would build up to a bit more of a heavier, more classic rock song as the song progressed, but that didn't really seem to lead anywhere, unfortunately, in my opinion at least. And whilst this isn't a jazz song, there's then a very dominant trumpet sound used a lot in it. And honestly, the only thing I think I can nearly describe this song as sounding like is a Gorillaz song, which are already a very alternative and experimental band. But my main criticism of this, and it's going to be for a fair few songs on this album, is it was just needlessly long. I get wanting to do quite a long song, so that used to be a bit more of a thing back in the day of Led Zeppelin. Before these days, it's every song's 3 or 4 minutes. But if you're doing a song that long, I want a bit more variance. I want some progression in the song. I want something to justify having an extra 5 minutes on the end of the song. While this song does change it up, the progression is very, very slow. And I feel you could have done all that progression and experimental styles of different music within one song, still within a normal 4 or 5 minute song. Like, after the first couple of listens to this album, when I'm going back and listening to it again, a few of these songs, this one's included, once it gets about halfway through, I just feel like I want to skip it, to be honest. It's like, yes, I've got that, I've enjoyed it, it's good, but I don't need another 5 minutes of that. I want to hear something else. Candy Truck's the next song on the album, and that continues that distorted, hypnotic, trance-like sound we heard in the first song, but a bit more trance-like, I guess, in this song. You got a bit more vocals in this, and they're definitely a lot clearer. That certainly showcases Ollie's singing ability in the song. And I think this song is meant to deliberately sound a bit sort of rough around the edges to give it a bit of that rough underground style feel to it. A Devastating Liberation is a great song that I like. It sounds like a dramatic cinematic soundtrack that you'd expect to hear as Iron Man is fighting Thanos in a movie. But it is very similar to Why You Gotta Kick Me When You're Down, and some people sort of theorise that this is the extended intro for that. And for me that does make it lose a bit of points, the fact that it's similar to an old song. Upside Down question mark is what I guess you call this next song, which is basically a bit of a halsey cover of In the Dark, but of a bit of a EDM remix to it. It still features the chilled electronic rock of the original, but it's pumped up the energy a bit to the kind of song you can imagine hearing in a club, but still retains a bit of a hypnotic sound again. Underground Big, etc, etc, that's another song on his album that got a far too long title for me to remember in full, but for any of those I'm just going to show you the title over here, hopefully, if I remember in editing. But that starts with some rap with some electronic trap rock in the background, and I think that's a combination that works really well, and I think that's kind of what some of the other songs on the album were missing, a lot clearer vocals, and this rap energy that brings to the songs is very similar to old Bring Me the Horizon, because one thing, despite what they have done throughout their career, they have always had very high energy songs. But then suddenly out of nowhere this song goes into almost new metal with Lotus Eater, and I did quite like that part. It did really remind me of the old Bring Me the Horizon, which I guess this and Ludens again shows that they may not be as gone forever as we once thought. But Lotus Eater was great on this, and he is really wasted only having him in the song for like 20 seconds. I would have loved to have seen a full song with him done in that style. And then the song goes into what I've written down in my notes as ASMR poetry when I first heard it or started hearing it, but that's not really what it is. It's sort of something in between, a kind of speech you would hear when meditating or some sort of cult-like religion as featured in Mantra. It's combining that and like having a drunk talk with Ollie Sykes at the end of a night when you've both had a bit much to drink and you're out just chatting your life story in the smoking area. Now, although a lot of these lines are delivered so simply, I think they're some of the hardest hitting lyrics that Bring Me the Horizon have done recently. This really is a lot of Ollie Sykes talking about his insecurities straight from his heart. I mean, the line about not knowing anything about geography hit me particularly hard. While I did really like how this song started out, I just really wish it was 3 different songs really. You have the electronic sort of rock, trap, rap bit at the beginning, you then got that heavy, hard-hitting new metal. I think you could even make those 2 work in one song if you wanted to, in a kind of Linkin Park style way. And then you got this sort of ASMR bit, I guess you call it, which honestly I'm not a bit of a fan of. That bit goes on for like 15 minutes and it's interesting the first couple of times you hear it to see what he's saying, but by the 3rd or 4th time you're listening to it, it just gets a bit boring, to be honest, and I hate to say that about one of my favourite bands. So honestly I'd love a version that was sort of like these first 2 genres, and like they skip out that final big monologue bit. And that all makes the next song, Seeing Spiders Run Ruin on Your Lover's Grave, feel like a relatively normal song, which it really isn't. To me this sort of felt a bit like a relaxed Latin indie rock style song, which then progresses into a bit of a club dance remix, and then ends with 2 minutes of seaside noises because, oh why the fuck not, I guess. Dead Dolphin Noises, another one with a quite a long full title. I quite enjoyed it. It kind of sounded like a bass-heavy electronic style dance song that you'd expect to see top the dance charts. And then you have whatever the fuck this song is. I've seen Yonaka on their social media refer to it as Tapes, so I guess that's what I'll be calling it. Now this is probably my favourite song on the album, and I've been really anticipating seeing something between a collaboration of Bring Me the Horizon and Yonaka, because Bring Me are the reason that me and a lot of other people discovered Yonaka, and they have been probably one of my favourite breakout bands of 2019. And even if this isn't how I imagined seeing them together, it's still enjoyable. Again, you've got an electronic beat here, or sort of electronic rock style beat. It's a bit more faster and a bit more energetic. And out of all the songs on this album, this one probably felt the most like a more conventional strut song with a bit of a conventional song style structure. And honestly, I do like this song, but it sort of felt very monotone almost to me. It sounds like these are the good bits, like the verses of the song that you're enjoying, but the bit of the song that you really love is the chorus normally. And it kind of feels like, yes, this is good, but I want a big, powerful, alternative electronic rock chorus with Teresa Jarvis off Yonaka and Dolly Sykes. I think that would make this song a 5 out of 5 song. It's got all the great groundwork for a song, it's just missing the final bit that would make it brilliant. So this is a great alternative rock song, but it does end really suddenly. I think that's the point of it. It's sort of a bit like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. So overall, what do I think of this album? And to be honest, after listening to it in full 4 times, I think I listened to a few other songs a few extra times, I still don't really know, to be honest, and that's pretty bad. I think this song is basically the musical equivalent of modern art. It's meant to be different, it's meant to be scary, it's meant to be exciting, it's meant to break the norm. If that's what you want in your music, that is brilliant, because this is what this album is. It defies every musical convention, but there is also a reason why we do have a lot of conventions in music. So I think if you wanted a modern art style album, I guess, then this could be a 5 out of 5 album for you. And while I do really personally like experimental stuff and stuff that's really different, and that's why I have liked Bring Me the Horizon throughout their career, and why I really loved Ammo, their most recent album, this just went a bit too far for me on the whole to enjoy. There's a few songs on here I do really like. A lot of it seems to be really good groundwork for a great song, which they just need to fine tune and work on a bit more. They need to take elements of these songs, condense them down and put them in a normal conventional song format, then I think I would really love them. So yeah, while this is a 3-star album for me, I think this is probably the most subjective piece of music I've ever looked at on this channel. And yes, all music is subjective to a degree, but you can generally tell that a lot of people like this and a lot of people don't like that. But this just takes it to new levels where I don't really think it matters what I say. It doesn't matter what any reviewer says about this album. It really just goes on your own personal taste. So cheers if you made it this far through this video. I don't know how long in the end it's going to be, but I've been recording for about half an hour now. But I'll be really curious to know what you think of this album, because everyone has such a different opinion on it. It's really interesting to look at the discussion. So do you want to leave a comment about what do you think about it? If you'd like to like and subscribe as well, that would be great, as we're heading into 2020 and that may be the year we hit 1,000 subscribers, but most likely not. As always, hope you enjoyed, cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.